Maybe it's time we stop trying to outsmart the truth and let it have its day. Welcome in to the Bro 4 Squad podcast, where we are just a bunch of bros drinking beer and talking movies. This is episode 158, and I am your host, the Mayor, Jeff Hornacek. Thank you so much for checking us out for the movie discussion tonight. Before we get started, we of course must go around and meet the fellow bros, and we begin in the lab with the mad scientist Brian Banner. Now, Banner, I recently, probably like 2 weekends ago, found my old regular Nintendo console. So as a scientist, I have to ask your advice here. Is this something we should strip for parts to perhaps try and build an even more awesome Nintendo? Or should we just play the Ninja Turtles arcade game on it?
We should definitely strip. Oh, did you say Ninja Turtles? Yeah, let's just play that.
The 2-button masher that's simple.
That's all the original Nintendo was how fast can you hit these buttons? You don't know what you're doing.
That game it's really fun, but they make the bosses so fucking hard.
Too hard.
It's
way too
ridiculous. Every boss is like the 95 bowls. And next, we go into the paint to our enforcer, Matt Geiger. Now, Matt, as we're recording this, probably 2 weeks ago as people are listening to it, but the Olympics just ended. So I have to ask, as our enforcer, if bar fights were an Olympic sport, would you have competed in Japan, in them representing the U.S., or possibly even the country known as Matt, similar to Russia?
They were an Olympic sport, and I was the only athlete. But then I tested positive for COVID, came back false positive, but then I smoked a ton of weed because I thought I was out. Test me again, tested positive for weed, got sent home. So that was the extent of it. But yeah, we were ready to go, bar fight and everything. I was ready to represent my country, but instead I just sat at home and mean tweeted, which is also a way of representing your country.
I mean, mean tweeting might be an Olympic sport very soon. I feel
some people think that's the only way to represent your country.
I saw someone on Twitter the other day.
We could have that debate, Brian.
I saw someone on Twitter the other day like bitching at someone, and they go, get off the internet. This is America. And they go, this is the internet. Like, what are you talking about? You know, every country has the internet, right? I mean, at least most of them.
I think most of them do.
Is there anything more American than thinking the internet belongs to us? Probably not.
Probably just created in the U.S. It was, right?
I think it was like Norway or something, actually. Oslo.
That sounds right. Someone much smarter than us is listening to this podcast. Like, why do I listen to these motherfuckers? They don't know anything, and they don't look shit up.
Go to a bar and ask 5 people where the internet was created. I guarantee you no one would have, like, a definite answer for you.
Probably not. No bar I hang out at.
No.
All right, well, on the Bro 4 Squad podcast, we begin every episode with the most important thing in any bro's life, and that is chest day. And as you could probably tell from the title of this, and again, because our recording is usually on a week delay from when it drops, this might have been settled as of now, but Scarlett Johansson, famously of Black Widow in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, is at odds with Disney and suing them over the debacle that has become the release of Black Widow day and date, both in theaters and on streaming. The debate at hand is over her compensation that was tied to back-end box office, and Scarlett Johansson's camp claiming that Disney ignored an email where she asked to negotiate the terms of her deal if it were to go to streaming. And then when it was released on streaming, it apparently cut her out of some heavy incentives in the back end of our contract. So what we're going to do today is briefly discuss this issue and whose side we're on. And then we thought it would be a great time, since lawsuits are just, again, super American. We all have the chance tonight, without Cycle here to defend anyone, that sick, venomous fuck. We are going to sue someone or something currently in Hollywood. So, Geiger, we'll start with you, but before I turn it over to you, let me give you Disney's quote when this lawsuit, when the lawsuit was filed, and then after you and Banner weigh in, we'll go to ScarJo's response. I think both of these are scorched earth scathing, and I'm very happy that they were provided. All right, here is the quote from Disney when Scarlett Johansson filed this lawsuit. Quote, this is according to Deadline.com. Quote, There is no merit whatsoever to this filing, Disney said in a statement Thursday. The lawsuit is especially sad and distressing in its callous disregard for the horrific and prolonged global effects of COVID-19. Disney has fully complied with Miss Johansson's contract, and furthermore, the release of Black Widow on Disney Plus with Premier Access has significantly enhanced, notice the words here, not actually given her, but enhanced her ability to earn additional compensation on top of now they drop her salary, $20 million she received to date. So, Matt, I'll let you weigh in. The big corporation said that whose theme parks have been open for months, that Scarlett Johansson is being callous during COVID, trying to get money out of this. What are your thoughts?
I mean, if this quote was taken in like 2018, I know that'd be kind of impossible because why would they put it on a streaming service? But they'd be like, what about the kids? But it's 2021, so they got to be like, Jesus, this is disgusting. COVID's happening. But I mean, I think all of Disney's theme parks are open, aren't they? So they can't really cry that anyway. I love listening to two people that are extremely rich bitch about money while everyone else is suffering. And I think in a previous life, I would have been part of a PR firm because this is pretty easy. I was like, let's come out with the first quote on this. Let's cry COVID. Like, come on, this is why it's on the streaming service. Let's not highlight all the money we stemmed to make from this and basically cutting out the theaters. But I mean, I would like to know more about this because I also heard, not to skip too far ahead, but I heard that some other people at Disney might be suing them, like Emma Stone. But I don't know if anything's come of that. And yeah, I know The Rock said he is definitely not, but Emily Blunt or whoever else is in Jungle Cruise said that she might.
Yeah, but I don't think The Rock will because he thinks that Jungle Cruise is going to be the next Pirates franchise. So there's way more money for him to lose there.
Yeah, and the backlash here, just a little background before we get to ScarJo's rebuttal. Kevin Feige was so Bob Chapek took over as CEO of Disney probably about 5 or 6 months ago for Bob Iger, who had been there pretty much since the start of the MCU. He's the one who kept promoting Kevin Feige. But now Bob Iger is basically handling Disney's parks. So this is sort of the first fuck up of Bob Chapek, and supposedly Feige was super pissed at the way he handled this. Banner, before we get to ScarJo's response, your thoughts on this. Again, like Matt said, it kind of rings hollow where Disney is basically trying to distract from the issue here, and super fucking low blow to throw her salary in their quote. Like, didn't she make enough money, guys? Like, Disney of all people saying someone has enough money.
Did they include Disney's salary in there? How much money they made off all this?
That's suspiciously missing, Matt. The
okay.
Annual salary of their CEO, or whoever the fuck said this quote.
I don't even know why we're worried about it.
The whole fucking thing is stupid, right?
And Brian, you're the Disney guy, just for some context.
Like, Disney,
get your house in order.
Yeah, look, that was dirty, okay? To throw out her salary like that, and then to just like ignore her email. Going into a negotiation, you don't have to agree to anything. At least talk to her, right?
I think she's done enough for Disney and made them enough money to where, she deserves a response.
Yeah, she deserves, even if it's like an auto, like no reply email, give her something. At ScarJo@gmail.com.
I'm sure that's her email.
Yeah. I mean, I think Disney is being extremely petty, if I'm going to be honest with you. And that's coming from a Disney guy.
Yeah. It's just tough for me to side on with them that they're giving away too much money. This is the response from Brian Lord, who is, I believe, Scarlett Johansson's agent or someone at the company that represents her. After Disney's quote, Lord says, and again, this is from Deadline.com, quote, the company, being Disney, included her salary in their press statement in an attempt to weaponize her success as an artist and businesswoman, as if that were something she should be ashamed of, Lord said. Scarlett is extremely proud of the work that she and all the actors, writers, directors, producers, and the Marvel creative team have been a part of for well over a decade. Lord also slammed Disney for shamelessly and falsely accusing Johansson of being insensitive of the global COVID pandemic. Quote, it's no secret that Disney is releasing films like Black Widow directly onto Disney Plus to increase subscribers and thereby boost the company's stock price. And it's hiding behind COVID-19 as a pretext to do so. John Berlinski, Johansson's attorney, told Insider in an email Thursday, quote, but ignoring the contracts of artists responsible for the success of its films, in furtherance of its short-sighted strategy, violates their rights, and we look forward to proving as much in court. So, Matt, it sounds like at this point, this is a dick measuring contest, and settling out of court isn't the point. I think for Scarlett Johansson, she just wants to take down the whole damn thing.
Okay, I'll say this. Just, I love these conversations, and I always try to piss off both sides. So here I go. For one, Scarlett Johansson, I applaud her because if you agree with her or not, this takes a lot of balls to do. Like,
to sue Disney, yeah, after that you've worked for them for 10 years.
Suing Disney over her number one role that she'll probably never reprise again, I wouldn't think after this.
Oh no, there's no way she's
after. Now Disney, the COVID-19 thing, that is true. I mean, what they said is true, that there's still some people, especially probably even more so now. This movie has, came out maybe even a month ago almost, but there are some people that don't feel, that they want to go to theaters yet, which is perfectly fine, so they can stream it. However, Disney is also, they forget to say, we make a pretty good profit out of it too. Like, Wedding Crashers, where they're like, don't make us to be saints just yet. We make a pretty good profit out of streaming this. I always disagreed with them streaming it, though, the day it came out.
Yeah, that's the problem, day and date.
I mean, wait, if you don't feel comfortable going to a theater, I mean, more power to you. There's America. You don't have to fucking go, but you got to wait 2 weeks to watch it. I mean, I would think that'd be fair. But I've always, and not to bring wrestling into this, but when they had the WWE Network and they were giving pay-per-views for free that used to pay $50 for, I remember, a wrestler brought up, is like, how do we get paid off pay-per-views now if everyone's going to get them for free? Like, just don't worry about that. I'm like,
right.
But it's how we make money. So I understand her bringing it up, and it's a very valid point. And I think it's something they need to start negotiating, because when she negotiated this movie, I doubt the pandemic was even happening.
Right. That's why she wanted to.
They've literally filmed this 3.5 years ago.
Yeah. So there.
And Matt, to your point, Matt, I am that demographic where I just came back from vacation when this thing came out, and I would have gone to the theaters, but because it was on Disney Plus and I was at home, I was like, let's just pay $30 and get to watch as many times as we want.
You can still have a good theater experience at home. You just order a pizza, get your favorite drink and shit like that. And it's awesome because you can pause it while you got to piss, maybe have a little sex in between or something, whatever you're into.
Wow, you're lucky.
I mean, the theater experience, though, honestly, I never thought I'd say this, but unless it's a certain movie, but most of them, it's like, man, I do kind of like watching it in the comfort of my own home, especially if it's free.
Yeah.
Banner. We have to remember, it's not free. It's a subscription plus $30. It's not like HBO Max. So again, Scarlett Johansson has the balls to go up against Disney, and she honestly has a valid claim. If they did in fact reach out and email and say, hey, if you guys do this, we need to talk about it because obviously the pandemic wasn't a thing and you guys pushed my movie back 2.5 years. So maybe she shouldn't get a cut of everything, but at least a cut of that $30. Like, give her $1 for every person that bought it. And I was one. I bought it on Disney Plus. It's easier for me with the child and everything that's going on. So I bought it. Why doesn't she get compensated for that? And who gives a shit if she made $20 million prior to this?
That's the fucked up thing. Like, you agreed to her salary. For you to throw that in her face afterwards, in her, 8th appearance in the MCU, seems like a little fucking petty and like a cheap shot.
That's what they valued her at, was $20 million. You could have paid her $5 million if she agreed to it and you agreed to it. You agreed to that $20 million plus box office, and then you literally just cut the box office out.
If I'm ScarJo's camp, I'm going into the lawsuit saying we want whatever her back end deal was. If it was like 0.5%, whatever it was, of the total gross, we want that off what the movie made. Like, I would say counting Disney Plus and theaters.
Yeah.
And I would imagine, because her original contract read for box office and they did the day and date release, I would imagine she might have a pretty good shot at getting that.
Disney is going to do everything they can behind the scenes to settle this.
Well, that's my other question, and Matt, we'll go to you first. Let's say this does go to court, and let's say ScarJo wins. Let's just say regardless, wins or loses. What is the fallout of this going forward? Because like we kind of alluded to, there are other actors with similar deals. Like HBO Max has done day and date with at least 3 movies. They're planning on doing it with several others. They just did it with Suicide Squad, Space Jam. There was one earlier in the year.
Mortal Kombat.
Mortal Kombat was a big
Kong versus Godzilla versus Kong.
Yeah, so there's a precedent here. If ScarJo happens to win, I would imagine there's going to be some other actors like, dude, we had a lot of money tied into back end deals, and we kind of got fucked by this. Like, we're going to now come for the throat of the streaming service. So, Matt, we'll go to you first. What do you think are the implications of this, win or lose, for ScarJo?
That could possibly happen, but the thing is that now, if you're making a movie right now, like, it's probably in your contract because the streaming service thing, I don't think is ever going to go away now. It's a big incentive of getting it, especially, the streaming service, especially, I mean, HBO Max, there's a bunch of movies that I didn't really care about, but I will watch, Suicide Squad being one of them we'll talk about later. But she ain't going to win. I mean, Disney has unlimited, this is going to be dragged out in court forever. They're going to settle. She won't say anything about it. And then maybe she'll make an appearance on a Marvel movie in 2 years to, shake hands and say it's over, but there's no way she'll win this.
I do feel bad for Feige. He's kind of like the kid of the two parents getting divorced, where he's like, man, I just really don't want to see you fight. I mean, he's worked so hard. They're actually kind of lucky they're in the state where they can get away with not having her reprise her role, because this would be a big character and actor to lose, because I don't see her coming back.
Imagine if this was 5 years ago. They'd be fucked.
They would be fucked. They'd be in trouble. Brian, what do you think? Implications, win or lose?
I mean, I think regardless, actors and actresses' contracts are going to change if they haven't already moving forward. I think that there is going to be, and really every studio should be doing this now too, is put some sort of clause in there that they have the right to pull it from theaters and drop it on Netflix or Hulu or whatever streaming service you want. Insert one of the 58 billion nowadays. At the end of the day, I think all this is going to be, like you said, is a big dick measuring contest between ScarJo and Disney, and it's going to kind of just fizzle out. All of a sudden, we're going to see a small headline, oh, they settled for an undisclosed amount, and I don't think it'll be 5 years. I think it'll be 10, maybe 15, and she'll come back as like an old Black Widow and reprise her role, and everybody's going to freak the fuck out because they're like, oh, we never thought it was going to happen, but for the last 20 years, we've had rumors of it. And I think that's really all that's going to happen is we're just going to be super entertained for the next couple weeks.
Yeah, I think it will be anticlimactic, but the sparks flying now are certainly interesting to watch. All right. In the spirit of litigation in Hollywood, let's, if we could sue anyone, anything, any studio, I thought this would be a great opportunity to get that off our chest, since lawsuits seem to be going around, and a great way to really let somebody know, hey, fuck you. So, Matt, you're our enforcer. You're always great at starting a fight. If you could sue any entity in Hollywood, person, studio, director, I'll even let you sue like a genre if you want. Who would it be and why?
Jeff, you're already thinking outside the box. I'm gonna sue franchises and remakes.
Good.
Because as I think we've seen on the internet, it needs some. It doesn't need to go away completely, but it needs some maybe policing. We need some rules here.
They need to chill out.
Yeah, like we can't. So we need, first off, for franchises, a movie has to either get like a certain percentage audience score or a certain percentage at, a domestic box office or something to even have conversations on it. So if the movie totally bombs, the audience hate it, you can't just, well, the second one will be better. We'll do better on the second one. We'll listen. You can't fucking do that. Remakes the same thing. Like we always say, who asked for this? Someone actually has to ask for it. And like a lot of people have to ask for it. For you to make a remake of fucking something that, maybe even wasn't that big a deal. Like, oh, let's do let's do a 70s sitcom that now those people are fucking dead that like it, and the people that would go to the movie don't even fucking know what the hell it is, and they're like, oh yeah, I think I've seen that on TV Land once. So we need some rules to go by. So not
TV
everyone.
Land's still a thing.
Oh yeah.
What's
and
on
actually,
it now?
TV Land's pretty cool now because they play like 2.5 Men and Home Improvement and stuff. Because we're
the old people now.
We're basically dead. We are dead. That's what it is.
Jesus.
And Matt, you guys can help me out here on, what, surprise the remake, just like Suicide Squad. Like, if we had rules, you're like, dude, if you're gonna remake it, that's fine, but you can't have some of the actors come back and then surprise their same role, but this has nothing to do with it. Or Batman is another prime example. I'm like, dude, you got to pick. Are you having Affleck or are you having fucking Pattinson? Or do you want a black guy to do it? You got to pick one, though. We can't just have fucking 8 Batmans running around.
And to your point, if a franchise is rebooted because someone, or remade because someone asked for it, you have to tell us who asked for it. Be like, yeah, Chris. He lives right over there.
But like a lot of Chris's have to ask for it, not just one Chris.
So let me ask you this, Matt. As defense of franchises, well, no, I love franchises. How do you feel about the soft reboot, where we ignore 15 movies but these ones count, but those ones don't?
Like Halloween.
Once again, like if you're gonna
Jurassic
go after like Halloween, like I liked Halloween. So if the story gets it, and I think enough people ask for that, if you'd ask people, they're like, hey, what if we rebooted Halloween and made a Halloween movie? You're like, fine, because most Halloween movies suck, so I'd probably see that. That's usually a weak month. Go ahead.
And what do you want to call it? Halloween.
I'm just saying, like Clifford the Big Red Dog. No one asked for that. No one asked for a live action Clifford movie. There's no fucking way. Like, we don't need this.
Yeah, that's that weird middle ground where, like, Boehner, you probably know better than me. Does your daughter even know who the fuck Clifford is? Has she ever even seen a book with him on it in her preschool?
Fuck no. I'm a better parent than that. I mean, I'm not the best parent, but I'm better than that.
Yeah. Okay, so again, if he's not still around for kids, who is that for?
I don't even remember any of, like, kids my age when I was little reading Clifford books. I remember them in the library, but I don't remember anyone ever checking them out.
I wasn't a big Clifford fan. I'm gonna be honest with you.
I've never met a Clifford fan.
I haven't either. I was an Arthur guy.
Oh, I loved Arthur. I was Bernstein Bears.
Oh yeah, they fucked.
Now an R-rated Clifford movie? Yeah, okay, maybe. I mean, I could see people ask.
Clifford, the big red dog. When he grows up,
Clifford gets rabid and starts. He killed one guy in the neighborhood.
This is getting out of control.
Can you imagine the shits that he would have on people's lawns?
We'd have to bring in Shaq to stop it. We're like, you're the only one big enough. All right, Boehner, who would you take to court and for what? What would the charge be?
So, I am going to take. This is going to be a progression through my mind. So first, I would like to take Ryan Johnson to court. I am suing him because who the fuck spells your name with an I?
This might be the most brought up grievance on this podcast in 5 years.
Probably.
Cycly even told me one time, he's like, I'd like to get him under oath and see if he'd spell it with an I. Like, he thinks he's...
Yeah.
You would actually under oath say RYAN. I'll admit, I churched it up.
Ah, you slipped up. The charade is up, buddy.
So not only that, but he made an atrocious movie in The Last Jedi, essentially ruining a franchise. But let's be honest, guys, it's not all his fault. So I would like to subsue Kathleen Kennedy. Is subsue a thing?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Okay. We're subsuing Kathleen Kennedy for greenlighting a sequel trilogy with zero direction and zero plan, and then just saying, hey, you three are, fairly good, prominent directors. You guys each get a movie. They all have to connect, but don't talk to each other.
Imagine the call when she reached out to JJ for Rise of Skywalker. He's like, what's up, Kathy? She's like,
look,
hey.
I fucked up. Fucked up.
So you
sure you've heard.
What you doing? Not a Star Wars movie. I want to come back and try and fix this shit. He's like, well, I saw the second.
They're gonna reboot that too, and like I give it less than 10 years.
Yeah, Filoni and Favreau are gonna reboot that, easy. But really, guys, again, at the end of the day, yeah, she's dumb, but she has made a few good decisions here and there. So I would like her to just be on probation, no jail time for her. But who does probably deserve jail time? Bob Iger, because he's the one that put Kathleen Kennedy at the head of Lucasfilm when they bought it. Why the fuck would you do that? It's a rookie mistake. And Bob Iger is great. I love Bob Iger, but I can't look past this.
she has had a lot of issues with directors. Like, obviously, there's the stuff with Solo. There's the total mismanagement of the Skywalker trilogy. The reshoots on Rogue One, which actually that turned out fine, but like at the time, the fucking sky was falling
Yeah.
on that thing. So, the Lord and Miller stuff, which I guess is also Solo, but bringing in Ron Howard at like the 11th hour.
She's gotten really lucky. I will say that. For as many bad decisions as she's made, she's gotten really lucky.
I think the Mandalorian might have saved her ass.
That's
I just don't
100%.
understand what she was doing. Like, that is the biggest trilogy ever, and it didn't even have like a beginning, middle, and end. She just, whatever you want to do. I'll never understand that.
It really is like impossible to wrap my head around.
It's one thing, Jeff, if she had a plan and we didn't agree with it, like, oh, that was a stupid direction to take it. It's another thing when you don't have a plan at all.
That's
That's
what's the worst part about it.
Think about how much money is spent on these films and they don't know what the fuck they're doing. And I don't mean from the sense of like, oh man, you guys really failed to execute that. It would be like a football team showing up on NFL Sunday and they're like, all right, what's the play? And he's like, I didn't even think about that. Plays?
I want a studio to literally just give us a shot. Give us a shot at making a franchise.
Like
how
us?
much? Yeah, like the Broforce Squad. We can make a franchise or a trilogy better than the sequel trilogy, right?
Yeah.
Easy.
But I do think it would end up like Tropic Thunder, where they have the movie's going terribly and they still throw that huge fucking kegger for like 1 week of shooting finished. What's the line in that, Matt? It's like, after just 3 days, Damian Cockburn is already a month behind schedule.
Just like, how is that possible?
Literally, if you did nothing for 3 days, you would be 3 days behind schedule.
3 days behind shooting.
It doesn't really make sense. All right. I would serve as a character witness for you, Brian, just as an aside.
Thank you.
I am going to sue James, or what's he go by now, Matt? Jim Cameron?
Jim Cameron.
Old Jimmy boy.
Jim Cameron. I'm going to sue him for perjury because I don't believe that these Avatar sequels are real. I really don't. And correct me if I'm wrong. These have been in production for, I believe, if you count pre-production, almost 9 years.
Yep.
Pushed back 4 times on their release dates. And have we even seen like a fucking image of him behind the camera filming it?
I saw some underwater shit, but it literally looked like they were at the Kennedy Space Station and watching astronauts train.
Was there anything in it that seemed pertinent to Avatar? Or was he just taking a camera underwater?
Oh, he wasn't in it. It was just in an Avatar article. And honestly, it may have been an ad. I didn't finish reading the article.
Okay. I don't think these movies are real, guys. And he's been.
We don't even have a fucking poster for him.
We have nothing. And he's been bullshitting us. Every time I read an article, I feel like he adds an extra sequel. It's like there's going to be six more, and they're going to come out in 24, 25, 20. I'm like, dude,
how many has there been? One?
One.
There's only been one.
Okay.
And it came out in 2008, 2009?
I want to say it's like 2000. Yeah, 2009.
2009.
Yeah, so I just don't think these things are real. It does have a title, apparently. It's subtitled Avatar: The Way of Water.
Which one? Wait, all of them are titled that?
Oh, so right now there's going to be 5 total, 4 sequels. I have all the titles if you want to hear them. They're all atrocious.
Lay them on me.
The second title, Matt, this might be a biopic for Travis Henry. Avatar: The Seed Bearer. Travis Henry has like 50 fucking kids.
Antonio Marty.
Yeah. Avatar 4 is called Avatar: The Tolkien Rider.
No, it's not.
And don't worry, the last one is worse. Avatar 5 is titled The Quest for Ewa. E-Y-W-A.
I've never even seen the first one.
Yeah.
I'm a sympathizer for the first one. It's a guilty pleasure. I like it. At the time, the technology was amazing. Now, sure, it's a Cowboys and Indians movie, but I like it. We don't need
story good.
I've seen Pocahontas.
Yeah.
That's it, except 2 hours 42 minutes.
He's not wrong.
Visually at the time, it was awesome. I think that was kind of its appeal. And again, I give James Cameron credit for being a visionary filmmaker in terms of visuals. But now, if you watched it, like any little kid sees that CGI in their Saturday morning cartoons, I feel like.
Yeah.
I think it's really nothing to be.
It was like the first real D 3D, which honestly I fucking hate now. I
Yeah,
just want like a normal fucking screen.
I don't do 3D movies anymore. I'm such an old. All right, so Jim Cameron, respond. Otherwise, I'll see you in court, bro. Like it's fucking over. All right, anything else you guys want to put out there before we move on to our protein shake?
Cycling's got a lot of people to sue.
Yeah,
We're probably at the top of that list.
He's probably got the itchy trigger finger. We haven't had a studio sue us for copyright infringement in a while.
True, it's been a while.
They fucking learned their lesson. MGM is still trying to fucking find out how they're going to afford families' Christmases at their office this year after Cycling took them down for like the 8th time.
I was gonna say he went like 3 for 3 in back-to-back months.
Yeah. All right, on to our protein shake, the second part of our show, where we go around and talk about what's in our cup, also known as what have we watched lately. I actually have 5 things, but I'm not going to talk about many of them except for maybe the last one, which Banner just watched. So I'll lead us off. Matt, you'll love this. Hungover one morning at Cycly's house when I went up to visit him about a month ago. We started Eurotrip on Netflix, and this was one of those situations where I'm like, yeah, let's just put it on while we decide where we want to go to breakfast. Next thing we know, we watched the whole fucking movie because we just kept laughing at it. I think Eurotrip is criminally underrated.
I actually haven't seen it in a while. I need to go back.
It's on IFC. I actually watched it in its entirety probably a week ago.
Do you think it holds up?
I mean, yeah, because that's our generation of movie. I could see why people like hate those type, like Road Trip, Euro Trip. Accepted is kind of in that.
I was just about to say
Drive. Like I can see why people hate those movies, but that was just right in the time where we were in high school and college. So like I like them. It's probably like 80s rock to our dads whenever they play like REO Speedwagon. I'm like, God, this sucks. They're like, well, it was cool when I was like young, so I still like it.
And they do go for like the lowest common denominator. Like there's none of the jokes are really clever. Like somebody gets hit in the balls or some shit like that. But
yeah, there's the friend that's like really vulgar, and that's
right.
like funny, I guess. And then
I do think the bit about how he's working that internship at the law firm while he's never actually at the law firm.
I thought that was fun. And then he got promoted at the end. I mean, it's a really good movie.
Yeah. It is kind of weird how really none of the actors from that have ever gone on to do it. Like, I don't think I've seen any of them in anything.
Well, the girl will show up in something I'll talk about later.
Michelle Trachtenberg. Yeah, she's Harriet the Spy. She's the only one that I really know.
Wow.
And then one other thing I watched real quick before I toss it over to one of you guys. So I read the book I'll Be Gone in the Dark. Banner, had you listened to this, or was it Cycly that had?
It sounds super familiar.
This is the one Michelle McNamara wrote it. It's about the Golden State Killer, this guy in Sacramento and kind of the Bay Area who raped and killed about, I think, 41 women between 1968 and 1999, I believe.
That average.
Yeah. And Michelle McNamara, if the name sounds familiar, she is the late wife of Patton Oswalt. So they were married for, I believe, 10 years. They have a daughter together. And then she died before she finished the book, I believe in 2016, maybe? I could be getting that wrong.
That sounds right. That sounds right.
She had an undiagnosed heart condition, and she passed away in her sleep. And so Patton Oswalt and one of the investigators that she was basically covering this serial killer on finished the book for her. And the crazy thing is, as they were promoting the book, the serial killer finally got caught after like basically 40 years of committing rapes and then just thinking that he had gotten away with it. So the book has just like a really brief excerpt about him getting caught because it happened afterwards. But the show on HBO, which I'll admit is kind of slow. I think it's 6 parts, and episodes. Yeah, but episodes 2, 3, and 4 are kind of redundant. Like, I don't want to sound callous, but like they just keep going over like how he raped and murdered people, and I'm like, yeah, dude, we get it. Like that's what he did. They go over like each crime scene, but very interesting story. The book took me a long time to read. I'm not gonna lie, it was really long, but I'm glad I did it. And I have an issue with, as I think many Americans do, with an obsession over true crime. And this is one, Matt. We always talk about this, how the internet does kind of play a role in catching him. Like that could be a good and bad thing when these keyboard sleuths get involved, but in this case, they did play a role in taking him down after all these years. All right, that's all I got. Matt, what's in your cup? What have you watched lately? Well, that's not all I have, but toss it.
Yeah, just passing the ball. All right, HBO Max. I watched The Prince. Have any of you watched this? Because I've talked about it.
No, I have not.
I did see it, and I was semi-interested. Now I'm very interested when you mentioned it.
Okay, I was semi-interested in it too because I'm like, what the hell? This is like another Family Guy HBO Max is doing, but it's actually 100% about the royal family. Which when I talked about that to my wife, she was all in. Other than Harry and Meghan, I'm not really caught up on my royal family, but there's like a Google or a YouTube clip, like 5 minutes that'll get you caught up pretty well. But my God, dude, they fucking destroy the royal family. The Queen, who's the king? Philip?
Yeah, or Prince Philip, I think.
Prince
Didn't
Philip.
he just die?
So why is he the prince?
Because I don't believe there's some law that England passed after the monarchy ended where they weren't allowed to have a king, I believe.
Okay, so only a queen. All right.
Yeah.
So Prince Philip, they make fun of for basically being dead. Like they vacation in the Bahamas, and he basically keeps catching on fire because it's so hot. They got to fire extinguish him. Kate Middleton, who I've heard of, and then her husband, they basically make fun of, like they hate each other. They want a divorce, but Kate's like, listen, I'm pretty close to, being queen one day. And they have kids, and basically they don't pay attention to it at all. Like one time Kate Middleton's like, you know how hard it was for me to watch, the servants put all of our kids to bed every night on my phone. Like it took forever. They make fun of Princess Diana's ex-husband. I can't remember his fucking name. And his wife, who he cheated on Princess Diana with, because he's just begging, to take over the fucking throne and waiting for his mom and dad to basically die. And dude, they destroy Meghan and Harry, like fucking destroy them. Like if they make fun of Meghan for being on Suits so much, and it's so fucking great. So it's you guys would love it. It's Family Guy, but the royal family. It's fantastic.
So that was my one question, because I'm kind of like you. I have like cursory knowledge of the royal family. I know, like, obviously Prince Philip had a bunch of weird allegations against him, and Meghan and Harry had like kind of wanted to leave. But if I don't have that much background knowledge, I'll still find it funny.
You'll be good. Yeah. And you probably know who Kate Middleton is because I've heard of her too. Now the prince, I can't think his name's Andrew, the one that was supposedly on Epstein Island. He's not in it. And I don't know where he fits in the family.
Huh.
Because I was waiting for those jokes.
Is he the one that just died? Didn't one of them just die?
No, that's Philip died.
Philip. I think I misspoke.
They made the show when he was still alive, but now he's dead. The guy that they make fun of for being so old that he's basically dead finally dies.
So would you, is Meghan Markle in it? Did you mention her?
Yeah. Meghan and Harry, they give them a lot of shit. They move out the first episode, move to Hollywood, and Harry is trying to find a job, and he finally gets a job as a masseuse because that's been his dream, like his entire life. And he asked Meghan, he's like, what's your dream? And Meghan's like, I wanted to be a princess. And he's like, well, you fuck that up. They give it to them really hard. And then they move back because they lose all their money. And one of Kate Middleton's youngest kids, he's he's basically Stewie Griffin. It's kind of a ripoff, but he's who the whole show's about. He's like playing Oliver in a play, and Megan's trying to like train him and help him, and he's like, listen, I don't need like help for like the fourth role in Suits. Like I don't need your help. It's really good, man, and it makes me think like I don't know who did this, like what studio or anything, but my God, like we need. This is what was always really great about the 90s and early 2000s. We could make fun of how fucked up, the world is. And now everyone's just so touchy about it. Like, but apparently a lot of British people hate this show.
I could definitely. I mean, it's their monarchy, right? It's their royal family.
Well, there's a lot of Brits that you don't say anything bad about the Queen. You just don't.
Yeah. You think Americans love the royal family? It's not even our fucking country.
I mean, it is kind of disgusting how many people watch that wedding, but
you guys, you have to watch it. You'll fucking love it. HBO Max.
Have you finished it yet?
And every episode is like, not even kidding you, man, 15 minutes.
Oh, you're speaking my language right now.
Beautiful. Man, I can watch that while I'm taking a shit.
I watched like 8 episodes. I'm like, shit, this is episode 9. Then I finally realized, like, man, these are only like 13 minutes long. Like, fuck.
Did you finish the season?
I don't think so yet. I'm on like episode 12. I don't know how many fucking ones there are.
I was gonna say, this doesn't sound like a concept they could do much with.
Not after a while, I don't think. Well, if Meghan and Harry I don't know. Right now, the royal family is giving them a lot of shit to make fun of. So I don't know.
I'm sure they'll keep supplying that. So if that probably won't be an issue. All right, keeping the ball moving. Banner, what's top of your cup?
All right. Sorry, my phone locked. I gotta open it back up.
Do you know your password?
No. Okay. Watch Black Widow, obviously. Watch Space Jam: A New Legacy, which we did a commentary on. I believe it's already dropped.
Yep.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Black Widow? I don't think we got to talk about it.
I actually really liked it. I was pleasantly surprised. I really liked the time frame of when it happened between Civil War and Infinity War. I thought that was really clever. I do not like David Harbour, but I thought he was fantastic in this.
Yeah, he was great.
He was so good.
Stole the show, I thought.
I don't know why, but his Russian accent was like cracking me up when it.
It was like Air Force One style Russian accent.
I've said this to Matt a million times. My favorite quote though is in the jail when he's like arm wrestling the guy and he's telling the story about how he beat up Captain America in the 80s. And the guy goes, "Captain America was in the ice then," and he goes, "You are calling me liar?"
It was like he was so good. He's like, okay, I got the accent down, but I'm going to church it up a little bit to make fun of the Russian accent too. Like,
yeah,
that's how good.
That's exactly how it sounded. Yeah. Banner, Space Jam. Just your quick thoughts, because obviously the commentary people can get 2 hours of us talking about it.
Look, is it a good movie? Absolutely fucking not. Is it fun? Yes, I had a fucking blast. I mean, that sums it up right there.
Good way to put it.
It's the second best Space Jam ever made.
Wow. What a compliment.
I watched the Tomorrow War on Amazon Prime.
Who did I talk about that with then? Nate on pod?
Oh, did we talk about that one already?
We might have. I think Nate watched it too, though.
Okay. I don't know. Anyway, I liked it. It was about 25 minutes too long.
Yeah, I thought that whole third act wasn't necessary, but that could have been the sequel movie.
Yes, I would agree with that.
They add like an extra, obviously I won't spoil it, but they add like an extra like
event
part to the story that like really it was not necessary in this film. But they wanted J.K. Simmons in it, so I guess that
and he was fucking jacked for this movie.
That guy loves lifting weights.
He looked great.
You look better than Chris Pratt.
He
He
got
really
jacked for Commissioner Gordon, and did anyone tell him you don't have to do that? It's actually better if you don't.
They're like, yeah, you're gonna wear a trench coat. He's like, whoops, already lifted the weights. Sorry. Like, what does Commissioner Gordon look like? He could just fucking beat up all the fucking criminals.
Why do we need Batman?
We got this guy who's already on payroll. Just have him go whoop the shit out of people.
All right, and last thing I've got is a thing that you watched earlier, Jeff.
Okay, I'll say two of mine, and then I'll leave that for the very end with you and I.
Perfect.
This one I won't talk about much because Cycly and I did a spoilers review on this, so go check that out. I saw Old in theaters, the M. Night Shyamalan movie, his latest entry. I think I've been on record. I feel like I'm pretty fair to M. Night, right? Like I really like a couple of his movies. I like several others, and then there's some that, you know, we can all agree are just fucking turds. This is, for me, like his middle tier of films. The concept, if you haven't seen the trailers, obviously I won't spoil it again, but it is a family on vacation, goes to this secluded beach, and there's a few, probably like 4 other people there. And they start to realize that while on this beach, they are aging rapidly. Basically, would, in equivalence, live their entire life in the span of one day. And they can't figure out why it's happening, and craziness ensues. Check out our spoilers review. There's some interesting... Matt, I kind of want you to see it because
the trailer got me. Like, it sounds like a cool premise. Is it streaming anywhere, or is it just...
Not yet, no.
Okay.
The ending to this, Matt, is something you and I have actually talked about a lot, and I would be interested to hear your take on it. But my issue with it, and we do get into this in depth in the review. Well, M. Night he is not a good, with the exception of Split, because James McAvoy was just on another level there. He does not get good performances from actors. And this movie really struggles with some of the acting at points.
Doesn't that just mean you're a bad director?
I don't know. Maybe. I mean, but
he could be a great writer and a bad director.
Yeah. Well, you know how in The Happening it feels like Wahlberg and Zooey Deschanel are like kind of making fun of the movie that they're in?
That's because it's a stupid fucking movie.
Well, there's times where I get that vibe in this, and I don't know if the dialogue... I don't know if he writes great dialogue, but he has crazy concepts, which are always...
You can have good actors and terrible dialogue. See the prequels.
Correct. Yeah.
Yes.
But I will say this, and Cycla and I go into depth about this for M. Night. Say what you want about him, but I think him and Jordan Peele right now are the two guys who you can guarantee they're going to try some crazy original shit and swing for the fences when you go see their films. And I at least respect that. Like, he's not just trying to pop out some bullshit, like Geiger was saying earlier, remake or reboot or something. Like, he's doing his own thing, and it might not always work, but at least he's, marching the beat of his own drum. One other thing I watched, and then I'll toss it over to Matt, was on Disney Plus, Banner, I'm sure you've seen this, but Marvel Studios has been releasing making ofs for all of their streaming shows after they come out. And I'm way behind on this one. I'd already mentioned the WandaVision one like several months back, but I finally got around to watching the making of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And I had three highlights that I got out of this that I wanted to talk about briefly. So first off, I think in retrospect, Daniel Bruhl and Baron Zemo for me was kind of the standout of the show. Obviously, they do a lot of different things with, like, what they do with Sharon Carter is really interesting. I think what they do with Bucky and like his journey trying to deal with murdering all these innocent people is interesting. But Zemo, who really his main job in Civil War was to pit the Avengers against each other, he finally gets a chance to do a little bit of, let his character breathe here. And I thought he just fucking crushed it. I mean, comedically, he's great. Like, it's a meme now, him dancing in that club in, what's the fucking, Madripoor?
Madripoor.
And just his character in and of himself, to me, is so interesting in the MCU. I hope we get to see him again, because I kind of fell in love with what they did with him here.
I don't see how we won't see him again.
Yeah.
in some capacity. I agree, though. I thought he was fantastic. And I think his character benefited from them having to change the story some.
For sure.
He got to flex his muscles a little bit more.
Another thing, the fight scene in Zemo's apartment with the Dora Milaje, they show the choreography of that. It's absolutely insane. And Anthony Mackie and Sebastian Stan insisted they use real spears while doing it.
Wow.
So the chick who's in the Dora Milaje is like, we have to be extra careful because this is like could actually cut someone.
That's insane. They use real spears.
Yeah, they apparently like from the making of, they said Mackie is like a freak about the choreography. Like he takes a lot of pride in like being in shape to do all the shit they want. He's always wants to do his own wire work, they said, which I think is pretty cool.
That is cool.
Last thing I had, this is pretty crazy. So the production schedule of this show was interrupted by COVID. Which kind of pushed it back and fucked with some things. But aside from that, they were actually supposed to film a big portion of it in Puerto Rico. I'm not sure which scenes. They didn't actually get to that. But the location they had scouted and reserved to shoot, there was actually not one but two earthquakes there that basically destroyed the location about a week before they were supposed to go. So I don't know how they did this, but they had to re-scout another location, move the shoot to Prague, and then that was like right as the COVID thing was happening. So they had a skeleton crew and they had to fly 100 people back to the U.S. In the middle of this. It basically just shows it's kind of a miracle this show still turned out as cohesive and competent as it was, because they had to deal with just shit that like literally like end of the world type insanity as they were filming it. All right, Matt, what else you got?
All right, I'll just run through the rest of the things I got. Silicon Valley, I'm on season 3. We're watching it. Jeff, just watch 3 episodes by September. That's all I ask, because you will love that fucking show.
I know I will. I've seen clips and I think it's fucking hilarious. I just need to finally actually commit.
Hard Knocks dropped. I'll review that next week. I haven't got a chance to watch it, but I did get a chance to watch the new Suicide Squad. Did anyone else watch this?
Not yet.
No, you told me not to.
I did see a huge spoiler on Twitter, and I'm fucking pissed.
Okay, because I would love to have an educated debate about this. I thought it fucking sucked. But I would like, because a lot of people liked it. It seems like, however, I do have a really big conspiracy theory that movie studios are finally getting wise and making a bunch of fake accounts to basically fuck with Reddit scores and Rotten Tomatoes scores and everything else. This isn't the time or place to talk about that, but I don't get how people liked it. People are like, this is what Suicide Squad should be. Yes, it's rated R. It's really gory, but the story still sucks. And I'm smart enough to see, where one movie like ends and another begins, and how the first Suicide Squad isn't canon, but some of the characters are. But still, I the whole time I feel like it was just insulting my intelligence. Like, hey, we know we fucked up, but you like some of the characters, right? So we're going to bring them back. We can't bring Will Smith back because he's doing a movie about the fucking Vanessa and Serena Williams. So we're going to bring in Idris Elba and make him Bloodsport. It's basically the same fucking thing, the same story. He has a daughter that sees him in prison that's upset.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Like, it's this, I just don't get it. And the ending is exactly the same. The villain is terrible. It makes no fucking sense. I hate John Cena, even though I'll have to admit this is his best role. He was actually, I don't want to use the word good, but he fit the role. I'll say that.
I'll say this. I begrudgingly thought his shit in the trailers was kind of funny.
He wasn't bad. And he can't, I just don't like him because as a wrestling fan, he's everything wrong with wrestling, I feel. But the problem is, like, Margot Robbie, man. Like, her Harley Quinn is just too much.
Yeah.
And I know that's Harley, but Harley doesn't need to be the center focus point of this movie. And I mean, if she's such a big actress, which she is, you should have gave her a Catwoman role or something else, something more to fucking do. But man, I can't. I don't understand this movie. I get the beginning started off fucking awesome, just like the first one did, and then it just didn't have a story for me. You never know who they're after till the very fucking end, and then you're like, oh, do I know this villain? You know, there's a million DC villains. And you're like, this is fucking stupid. And I mean, it was gory. It was rated R, if that's what you want. It wasn't dark. It was just gory and rated R for like gory's sake too. Like a lot of times they just blew up things just to say, see, we're edgy on this one. And
yeah.
It was desperate to me.
So let me ask this, canon wise, were you able, like, do they ever say anything where do they mention Enchantress, or is it straight up like a reboot? He just liked the way some of the actors fit the roles and brought them back.
This has nothing to do. The first movie did not happen.
So they don't act like Waller has ever recruited the Suicide Squad before.
Jeff, the first movie was spring training. Okay, you got some cuts in. You got your glove oiled. Now this movie is starting 0-0. It doesn't matter if you won every game in spring training or lost every game. It's all fucking forgotten. And then you keep the players that did well in spring training and they make the main roster. The ones that don't fucking filter out, and this is a brand new season is pretty much what this is.
God. See, that's just baffling to me.
And then so Henry Cavill is apparently out as Superman, but Bloodsport is in prison for shooting Superman with a kryptonite gun.
Yeah.
Like it makes no fucking sense. There's no call to the DCU at all because they don't know what the DCU is.
That's who we should have fucking sued earlier.
That would be one we would. They don't have any money. They would be like the person like you gets in a car accident with no car insurance.
And and it's James Gunn, and he's just trying so hard to be Guardians.
Yeah.
But it's rated R, and he's just like, okay, I can't do dark. That's not his thing. And I'm not asking James Gunn to make a dark Suicide Squad movie. But it's like, but I can be really gory. And then everyone loves King Shark, which is Stallone.
To me, it just seemed like a ripoff of Groot.
It pretty much, that's the problem, is they have like this weasel guy that shows up at the after credit scene that's like, hey, this is kind of like Rocket, kind of. He's weird and he's a critter. And then you got King Shark, who's like Groot, or it just, I don't know.
And Pete Davidson's in it. Let me ask you this last thing I'll ask. John Cena's character Peacemaker is getting, and James Gunn's doing it, an HBO Max miniseries. Mm-hmm. How do you feel about that? Considering you said one part of the movie that you actually thought worked fairly well.
Just how I feel like everything. I guess it's cool, but it won't, will it connect to anything? Will it lead to anything? Or
who knows?
And Cena's wearing his costume.
I know.
Which actually I thought I hated, but he didn't say this, but I kind of was like, you know what? That's kind of cool because most actors just get on roids just to like Hemsworth. Hemsworth's not that big. But he gets on let's be honest, he gets on the roids. Cena's that big 24/7.
Yeah. That is true. I did see him, why is he going to all the interviews and the red carpet in that costume, though?
Same questions.
All right, well, your thoughts on it has me definitely intrigued. Seems like the stuff that works.
I would like to talk to someone who liked it. I really would. Not to be a dick. I just really want to see what they like about it.
Based on the trailers, we hated the first one so much and were so disappointed that it actually led to us starting this podcast. So I guess we have to thank it in a lot of ways. But I saw the trailers and stuff for this one, which I guess isn't technically the second one, but it's a reimagining. And I was like, dude, I think I'm going to love this. Now, obviously, I could be wrong because that's what we thought about the first one. But I don't know. It was working for me.
I would like to hear... I guess my problem is, what's the difference between this one and the first one, other than it being rated R and gory? And if people say this one's funny, then I'll have to ask. I guess I don't know what funny is anymore. I guess
all I'm hearing here, Matt, is that you're judging apples with apples.
It's the same movie. I think. I don't think there's a big difference.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna watch this.
The first one's better. I like the first Suicide Squad better. I'll say that.
Wow. Whoa. Okay, wait. Is that the extended cut or the theatrical? I mean, because it's a legit.
The one on TNT. I'd rather watch it. Damn. The story actually made sense a little bit more. And Enchantress is a way better villain, which I never thought I'd say than this one.
This must be an all-time worst villain of all cinema if Enchantress is a better villain than him. Jesus. All right. Way to pique my intrigue there. Anything else, Matt?
No.
All right, Banner. Just one last thing we shared.
Yep, I think so.
Why don't you tell people what it is?
We watched Marvel's What If, the animated series on Disney Plus that is basically asking us, what if something different happened in the MCU? What would it have looked like? Jeff, what was the title of this one?
Yeah, so as you're listening to this, the second episode is probably dropped, which I believe the second one is what if Yondu picked up T'Challa instead of Peter Quill. But the first one is what if Captain Carter was the first Avenger. So basically the plot narrated by the Watcher, and this is MCU quote-unquote canon, that's the Marvel Studios intro and everything, is Steve Rogers is about to be injected with the super soldier serum, and Peggy, instead of going up in the booth to be watching from a safe enclosure, she decides to stay next to him, and she interrupts the Hydra agent who tried to blow up the chamber that he was transformed in, and as a result, she ends up having to jump in, and she gets injected with the super soldier serum. Basically, the premise, and then it plays out. I guess they're just really the rest of the first Avenger, the original Captain America movie, with her in that role and all the things that would have gone different.
Yeah. Yeah, essentially, that's what it looks like they're going to be doing, is that it's going to be an MCU movie, and they're just cutting all the bullshit out. All the relationship building and everything. You're just going to accept it, which I'm fine with. I thought it was really cool.
Oh, yeah. And I guess first off, the reason why I think What If works is twofold. Number one, it is something that, like, budget-wise would take forever to make live action, and it's just easier to do animated. And the animation I thought looked fucking awesome.
Oh, it was great.
And two, the voice cast. I mean, everybody but Chris Evans is back in this. We have Jeffrey Wright as the Watcher, Haley Atwell, Samuel L. Jackson, Jeremy Renner, Stanley Tucci, Dominic Cooper back as Howard Stark, Sebastian Stan back as Bucky Barnes, Toby Jones back as Zola, Neil McDonough back as Dum Dum Dugan. I mean, everybody pretty much.
It's
and
insane.
Chris Hemsworth is back for his episode. This is Chadwick Boseman's last role. He voiced T'Challa in the second one. So I think that's why this has me so intrigued, aside from just the concept of it.
It's really cool that you can get these actors on board with something like this.
Yeah. Ben, what did you think of, I guess, like, I would highly recommend seeing it. It's very short. It's like 25 minutes. What did you think of what they did, basically like a precursor to Iron Man with what ended up happening with Steve Rogers?
I loved it. I thought it was awesome.
Yeah, me too.
I got hung up a little bit on the Tesseract, how it was powering it.
Yeah.
And, like, they're just, like, throwing it around like it's a fucking softball. But yet in the live action movies, or in the Steve Rogers version, they're like, they can't even look at it and it'll blow something up. So I don't know. I couldn't get over that for some reason.
I think one compliment that has to be paid is the action in this almost looked
so
like
fucking good.
It almost looked like it was mocapped, right? It was like
so good.
That scene where Peggy assaults the convoy,
yeah,
was badass.
When the trucks go over the top of her.
Yeah, and then she, like, throws that motorcycle.
Yeah,
that was fucking cool. I'm really excited for this. Matt, you can watch them as one-offs. There's one where Spider-Man becomes the Sorcerer Supreme. Tom Holland voices it. And then there's one where Thor, this is one I'm very interested in because Hemsworth's returning. When he gets banished to Earth in the first Thor, instead of him having his redemption arc, he just throws a giant kegger. Is his episode.
I love that they're doing this. The DCU should do this. Like, what if our shit, hold on now, made sense? Episode 1.
What if we let a director fulfill his vision?
What if I told you?
Like the 30 for 30 intro. All right, Disney's What If. We'll probably do. I mean, I'll watch every one. So I don't. Again, we debated doing reviews. I don't think there's enough there to justify it.
There really isn't.
Certainly part of a protein shake each week. We can pull it off. All right, anything else? We're ready to move on to the final part of the show. And that brings us.
I've been doing that for fucking 5 years.
I mean, there's a lot more pathetic things we've been doing for more than 5 years. We all need help. Do you even lift bruh? Which is the question and answer segment where we ask a question and leave you guys with it. And this one is according to Deadline, but really got to give Geiger credit. He brought the story to our attention. This involves Sonic the Hedgehog 2. According to Deadline, the Suicide Squad star, the aforementioned Idris Elba, is joining Paramount's The Suicide Squad 2, voicing the famed character of Knuckles. Knuckles is a red echidna. Banner, I don't know what that is. Do you?
No.
Is that an actual animal?
No.
All right. And he's the guardian of the Master Emerald in the video games. He's also known to be hot-headed and a fighter. Elba joins the previously announced returning James Marsden, Ben Schwartz, Tika Sumpter, Natasha Rothwell, Adam Pally, Shamar Moore, and most importantly, probably Jim Carrey. Geiger, we'll go to you first. We're huge fans of Knuckles on this podcast. Thoughts on this news? Tails will, I assume, be in it. Spoiler alert for Sonic the Hedgehog. He's teased in the post-credit scene. And the real question we have to ask, Geiger, aside from your opinion on this, could this end the curse of the video game movie, adding Idris Elba as Knuckles?
I mean, this is great news, but does Knuckles talk?
Now he does.
Okay. Fair enough.
I can't know if any of them talk, because on Sega, like, they don't have, like, maybe it's like little words pop up. I'm not sure.
Well, I guess Sonic had his TV show, but I guess I don't remember Knuckles being on it. But I think this could end it. I haven't seen the first Sonic, but then once again, just like the first Power Rangers, I'm like, dude, just wake me up when the Green Ranger's there.
Right.
And Sonic was the same way. I'm like, listen, I'll just YouTube what the first one was about, but wake me up when Knuckles shows up. So this, I'm interested in this. I don't know what the first one made. I think it was during the pandemic, so the numbers were probably sketchy. But yeah, I'm interested in this, man. Idris Elba's red hot right now. He's just taking every fucking role.
I know, dude. His agent is crushing it. The first one definitely had its moments, and yeah, its box office was definitely hindered. I think it was the last or the second to last movie that I saw in theaters before everything kind of shut down. And now that Paramount Plus is a thing, I don't know. Maybe this will be maybe they'll cannibalize themselves and add it to streaming services the day it comes out in theaters. But I'm intrigued. I fucking love Knuckles. Brian, what do you think?
Alba might sue them though.
Yeah.
They do that. I think it was a very poor joke. I'm sorry. I think
that's the joke. That's how bad it was.
Yeah, that's how bad it was. No, I'm excited. I think it's gonna be. I don't think it's gonna end the curse. I don't think video games make good movies ever. Closest you got was probably Tomb Raider, right?
Oh man, is that the best one? I actually kind of like the new Mortal Kombat, but I don't think it was a good movie. It was just a good adaptation of a video game. That makes sense.
So I don't think this will ever. I don't think video games will ever make good movies. So no, this will not end the curse. But I'm excited about it. I think it'll be fun.
Knuckles is a badass. I wonder how much they'll let Elba be cool in it. If that makes sense. Will they
once again, the voice actors never really bring me to the theater on this. It's more you could have had some no-name person playing Knuckles. I'm like, must be good casting. I don't know. I've never heard Knuckles talk, so let's roll.
The first one kind of serves as Jim Carrey's origin story as Dr. Robotnik. And I have to say, there are a few scenes in it where he manages to successfully channel that mid-90s Jim Carrey that we love so much. He's like Adam Dunn in that last year of his career. It's not it's not going to look pretty, but he can run into one every once in a while if you make a mistake, you know? Not consistently, but don't throw a fucking meatball 91 down the cock. He'll hit it out. All right, before we leave the people for episode 158, closing thoughts. We'll go reverse order. Banner, you first.
Just pull over for emergency vehicles, guys. It's tough times. You never know who's in the back of that ambulance or where that fire truck's going. It could be your house on fire.
Is there anything more relieving than you're on the highway, cop turns his lights on, you're like, fuck, he's coming to get me. you like pull over and he just drives past you. He's actually going to get someone else.
It's like an orgasm.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's like the highway equivalent of an orgasm or just peeing after like a long day.
Yeah. It's like one of those ones that make you a little dizzy.
Geiger, what do you want to leave the people with?
I mean, as we're talking right now, I mean, there's child sex rings going on. There's, people dying of a virus that we're not really sure how to compute. But, we got to put all that aside because someone's losing money, either Disney or ScarJo. And damn it, we need to get to the bottom of it and figure it the fuck out before we do anything else.
Yeah, we'll get to world hunger. Like
the world hunger or the mass mandates maybe need to be bumped to page 6, if you know what I mean.
They're not going any
fucking out.
Dane Cook used to have a joke about like when his dad wouldn't take him to like the petting zoo when he was a kid. His dad would be like, "The petting zoo's not going anywhere." He's like, "Well, when
one day, fuck, it went somewhere."
Yeah, guess what Barnaby's did? It fucking went somewhere. And he says when his dad is old and needs to go to the hospital, he's gonna be like, "Dad, the hospital's not going anywhere." Okay. That's where we're at now. For me, I'll just close with this. If you live in a place that has those turn left turn arrows that are green, I butchered my pronunciation of that, but you know what I'm trying to say. Don't be afraid to turn left on a green arrow, or a flashing green light, excuse me. You know what? Fuck it. Don't turn. I can't explain it properly. Stay in your fucking lane. Save a life. Because maybe one of those emergency vehicles Banner talked about is coming your way. Wouldn't want you dumbasses turning in front of it.
I hope actually gets their information from this pod anyway. I don't know though. Who knows?
The world's such a fucked up place. I wouldn't be surprised if this is where people go to seek their advice. I actually have not encountered, as I say this, I'm going to run into a lunatic tomorrow. Haven't encountered many bad drivers lately on the road.
Wow.
A rarity.
Does that mean you're the bad driver?
Probably, right? Where are they? Like, you're they. All right, for the mad scientist Brian Banner and our enforcing the paint Matt Geiger, I'm the mayor Jeff Hornacek, and we are the Bro Force Squad podcast. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at Bro Force Squad. Subscribe to us on Apple Podcast, Spotify, YouTube, everywhere you get your podcasts. Just type in Bro Force Squad as 3 separate words, and everything that we do is on our website, broforcesquad.com. Till next time, we have to go sue someone, maybe our neighbors. Maybe a lawn care company that fucked up weed whacking our shit.
How do you fuck up weed whacking?
That's what I said.